So 555 on the watch as I begin. Let's think about positive changes. Decultification, a manifest. Happy, thriving life. Okay? Not just housing, but also traveling. Good balance between being compensated for a contribution, okay, and being truly connected with our passions, not to overwork ourselves, okay, focusing on the change we want to see in the world, but in the sense of process of creation. That's some nice positive change. And you know what's beautiful about this episode? I'm talking about Uranus turning direct in 23 degrees Taurus at 30 January. So this is an episode of Jan Astrology 2025, and I have not yet established any pattern around this. I really wanted to capture the moon Neptune from Taurus, but Venus is opposing Mars and just escaping Pluto, and I kind of feel like that's going to be a stretch. So I'll try to get her from the end of Cancer. No, I won't, because then the moon will... I don't know what to do. You got an advice for me what to do with that Neptune, because I want to capture that Neptune, and the best is if I could get it from Taurus. Then I could get another shot at the moon Pluto, okay, at Pluto. But then the moon is applying to Venus, which according to Krassia Tassia is kind of like, you don't want it. But then it's going to be in the 5th house soon. And it's going to be in a Venus hour. But then it's Mars opposing Venus and Pluto. Anyway, let me get the honey ready. And it already leaked a bit. And just in case, it's not the best election, but when once in 300 years transit, then I'll try my best. Do I have any essential oils bottles beginning to run out? Just preparing the ground now. Meantime, I wanted to talk about Uranus turning direct. Ooh, the mint. Okay. Make out something. And I want to talk about Uranus turning direct. What I like and what I dislike about the chart. So first of all, what I like. Moon is going to be, yes, square in Uranus, so it's going to be a little bit edgy. And I'll give you my cautionary tales for this. Because the moon is turning direct. I'm sorry. Moon square in Uranus. I love that. I love what just happened here. The moon is turning direct. This is such a Uranus thing. And the moon is going to be on Deneb Algadi. So moon close is going to be releasing from Deneb Algadi. Both Uranus and Algadi have a wealth redistribution factor to them. Okay, Uranus adds a flavor here. Okay, Uranus is where you advocate against all these laser investments in real estate, all of this, all of that, and then somebody pisses you off and you're like, Ruta, let's laser a city. That's Uranus. That composite has a Uranus conjunction. But the thing is that's what I like about it. Uranus is refreshing, liberating, yes, and the moon with wealth redistribution on Deneb Algadi, it's actually on root of the sun. It's interesting. Anyway, there's something about it that there's going to be a crisis because it's moon squaring Uranus. So you want to prepare yourselves. You want to prepare your lavenders. Okay, you want to prepare your rock roses. So you want to prepare for that. It's going to be a housing crisis because moon is housing. And it's going to be a reset. Okay? Now you want to think about the fact that what creates, you think about what is promised with the reset is universal income, everybody having a place to live. Because like, but what's the downfall? Okay, you will have nothing and be happy. Let me tell you something, you already have nothing today, but this is the current state. Whether you're Donald Trump, Elon Musk, whomever, okay, it's a cult of betrayal. It is what it is. It's not for nothing. You see people like Elon Musk. It doesn't matter what you think about him, okay? But you see people like Elon Musk sometimes living with nothing, or living very humbly, because there's that sense of detachment where when you actually know wealth, you actually know you got nothing, okay? It's like, but we actually get to understand that. What's the trust-based? It's betrayal. We actually get to, we're scared of human trafficking. Oh, I get this, the human trafficking scare. Okay, the human trafficking scare is like, okay, what are they planning to do? Somebody's not going to get paid. And so there's a crisis. It's a reset versus reset. It's the reset of Uranus Beta Persei. Okay, it's 2 degrees from Beta Persei. And then there's the reset of the moon in Deneb Algadi. So there's these two crises that crisis with each other. There's the wealth redistribution, okay? There's the fact that you're really angry at the fact that there is a democide and a this and a that, but also kind of like, hey, I got sick of explaining to people what's the targeted individual. Now everybody knows. Okay, it's both that and that. I heard a lovely song by Sophia, I don't remember what the name. It's about the sky rain, cocoa and cocaine. And there's a line where she says, will you applaud the simulation, applaud the maker, if you're constantly in the safety of danger? Okay. And you see that like, it's just, would you prefer a brutal electric shock to sitting in the living room with your thoughts? And you see that it's highly MK Ultra, right? But you see that for the younger generation, everybody knows what we're talking about. And she's a great artist. This is the difference also between the Uranus Sag and the Pluto Sag, okay? The Uranus Sag gonna astrologize this. The Pluto Sag, they go for the extremes. And you think about the Pluto Scorpios, I'm a Pluto Scorpio, we transform things, okay? The Pluto Sag just expands. So, now, I'm the Uranus Sag, okay? The Pluto Sag will transform something in an exponential way, okay? The Uranus Sag will revolutionize something and rebel something in an exponential way. So, back to this Uranus turning direct on 23 degrees Taurus. There's a crisis on a crisis on a crisis around this. I do like the presence of Deneb Algadi. And Deneb Algadi, I think if you listen, no two magicians, astrological magicians, would tell you the same thing about Deneb Algadi. So one would tell you, it's going to guard your property, but you got to be ethical. Another would tell you, if you need to steal something, turn to Deneb Algadi. Another would tell you, that's the wormwood god they did a human sacrifice to. And there's no two things, and same with Beta Persei, there's no two things that align, and you're gonna have to figure what it is for you. Another would tell you it's the protector of the outcast. And we know it's associated with kind of like all of the above. There's the inversion, which is human sacrifice, but it's also something about Deneb Algadi that redistributes wealth. And when you talk about the moon, you talk about caring. Unfortunately, you can talk about breast cancer as well. okay? Cancer types, and the moon is breast, but also cancer, and it could all nervous system related cancers. Okay, we're gonna have a revelation around that because something's gonna be exposed. It's a scientific sign. I've talked about housing, so there's gonna be some housing crisis. Now I'm not gonna tell you it's gonna be a huge flop or a huge uptake because we don't know, but that's gonna be getting some housing to be redistributed. Okay. And there is a crisis with what Uranus is doing on Beta Persei. So there's a crisis with the digital currency. There's a crisis with those who do human sacrifice for the snake goddess. There's a crisis for those who talk about willing consent as well. Okay, there's all these crises together. And that is and the moon is separating from Uranus. Now, what did I say about the separating from a hard aspect? If you think about a little earthquake, I don't see it necessarily as an earthquake, okay? It can be because Uranus is in an earth sign and the moon is a manifesting object, but I have to admit, I don't see it necessarily as that. I'm going to need a good Mars in hard aspect. I'm going to need maybe the Sun in hard aspect. I don't see it happening. But the thing is that it's definitely a crisis. It's a release of something. It's a release of energy. Now, it can be an emotional purge. It can be a housing crisis uptick or downtick. It can be the way currency is laundered with housing. It can be many things. There's going to be a release of that. The only thing that I do see that is possible to be happening is another type of dehach. Okay, some houses exploding. And there's going to be a wealth redistribution factor to that. Now, it can be both the reset and the anti-reset. So it can be both lasering something, but that has, let's put it that way. When I was in shelter in the Netherlands, it was a GGD shelter. It was a health municipality shelter. It's basically I was basically housed by the WHO. Okay? The WHO, Demming, Babysit, and Mark Rutte. That was very simply put. Okay? They had the solutions. Nobody else had the solutions. And then the lady at the the social worker, she tells people, okay, if you sit down, you can take down your mask. If you walk, you can put your mask. And somebody tells her, what is this? What is that? She said, it's nothing to do with COVID. These are the rules. Okay? So you put a fucking mask on and begin to dance. And they can't do nothing because you're pleasant and you're amiable. And it's not about them. Okay, you got to move your body around. It's winter and you're freezing. So you got to do some workout. But you got to address the fact. I'll be the one talking about the WHO, the this, the that, the who, the where, the we, the what, the where, the laser. But if you ain't gonna do shit, and if you're gonna keep up, why don't the homeless want to work? They're gonna confiscate your property, okay? And they're gonna say, well, the dead concentration camp is here because they need a real estate. And nobody's gonna pay them. No, nobody's gonna get paid for the real estate, okay? Now, your property is a property where crimes against humanity are done. Don't think they're not going to hug you. You're going to get a hug. You see, these people, they grew up in Disneyland death camps. Nobody came to save them. That's what they know. Nobody's coming to save you. So, the release of that energy, and Uranus going direct at this point, is, Prepare your lavenders, prepare your rock roses, prepare your rescue remedies, wherever you are. But the thing about Uranus is it liberates something emotionally. It's an emotional liberation. It's a crisis, but it's an emotional liberation. An emotional liberation, psychological catharsis around housing, care, mothering, fertility, and all of the above. So it's a release point, and we're going to see upon the turning direct. Now, when a planet turns stations, whether retrograde or direct, there is a slow down movement. So that release is going to be accentuated very deeply. I know it's Moon Uranus, okay? It's Moon Aquarius. United States housing crisis is going to be on the menu very strongly, because United States is the Moon Uranus country. So there's going to be something on the menu. There are death and concentration camps in the United States for several years now for the homeless. You know that's the veterans that were MK Ultra, right? That's your people. That's your home. You know what? I got to talk with very few homeless in United States, but when I asked them what house would they want, would they manifest to hold that, so I can hold that with them, they manifest the American dream. They hold the frequency of the American dream, and they kept in death and concentration camps. Now, what that does in terms of frequency to United States of America. If you ask what's the way out, tend to the death and concentration camps. It's not, oh, we need to take down the whole elite. Good morning, you're just like, that's planned. Pluto is in Aquarius, okay? That's what they want you to do. Because the next generation is up and ready. And if you listen to the next generation, I'm flirting with a guy who I think wants to murder me. Okay, if I was handed out peace and say, take it back, I prefer pain. Okay, that's the next generation. Time to stop telling the millennials and what were the Gen X's to get a job when you see them on the street, and time to stop telling the Gen Zers to get a job, because they're being there homeless doing 5 jobs and a side hustle and flipping up real estate. Okay, time to refresh your vernaculars when you try to deal with the housing crisis. Okay, and so that Uranus uptick, because Uranus is gonna be slow. The moon is fast and square and releasing from Dana Balgadi. Okay, that's a big giant boom, and it's a supersonic boom. Now, are some planes gonna crash? I highly doubt that not. Why? Jupiter and the Sun are going to be on the 11th degree. Sun 11th degree of Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn, which is in Jupiter's sign. Jupiter on the 11th degree of Gemini, which is now the combination of anything Mercury sign with retrograde is technical issues, okay? 11 degrees, degree of explosions and aeronautics, okay, aviation, and electricity. Now, Uranus is on Beta Persei, which also symbolizes electricity. Uranus symbolizes electricity, okay? I would not go on a flight around 30 Jan. If you have flights around 30 Jan, I would make it a sabbatical for the aviation. I'm not joking. And I don't say it lightly. Now, it's going to be like the orcas. It's going to be like that implosion of the millionaires, but on air. When they say Bashar al-Assad was smuggled on a plane and then exploded there, okay, he was Aliyad. And when you get to know what the forces are operating in Syria, just a tiny fraction, okay, he was Aliyad. Relative, okay? E equals MC in the power of 2. He was Aliyad. But did Syria join NAFO? I think it's join NAFO, right? Now you see, let's talk about NAFO. Mark Rutte has Sol on Deneb Al-Gedi. When I did Mark Rutte's chart, okay, I was humbled, flabbergasted, and dumbfounded. Because the guy has a Jupiter Procyon, Sun on Deneb Al-Gedi. And I'm like, dear children, okay, paint the entire picture and only the villain live in black and white. But where is the villain if Jupiter is in Procyon and Sun is Deneb Al-Gedi, okay? He is the humble, most accommodating. And that Mars on 0 degree Scorpio means he's on the money to do that. But he's the humble, most remediating person we could have had in NAVO today, astrologically speaking. And that natal chart plays out all the way to the Navamsha as well, so it doesn't cease to exist. Anything you think about this person, with anything you have on this person. Okay, now of course astrology is not a profiling, but I could think of worse charts to tackle. Okay, definitely the Urano-Pluto generation is not an easy generation. That's the electrocution MK Ultra generation of the Camp Disneyland. So going back to the Jupiter and Sun on 11 degree, we might have a leader exploding on a plane. Sun leaders. And it could be a government leader because it's Saturn. It could be a religious leader because it's Saturn. And it can be kind of like a religious leader. It can also be a big pharma person or a big drug cartel person. I don't see why would that be something particularly, but it can be some leader, Sun, that's to do with the pharmaceutical, Saturn in Pisces, exploding on a plane. Now, Jupiter is still in the thrones of squaring Saturn. So, and people are going to look at it as a wealth redistribution thing. It's a reset versus reset. You want to think about the CEO of that pharmaceutical company that was murdered, and people admire the shooter. Now, I'm not saying it's right, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that something like that can happen. So this is what I find that's a cautionary tale, okay, around. And you want to look back to the point of retrogression. There was a lot of beta per se involved. I don't remember the point of retrogression. I would have to look back to it. But the point of turning direct is also important because that's the onset of something. It's an onset of events. And those events are as follows. It's a super Uranus direct motion. And its onset's the beginning of January 2025, the end of January 2025, which marks the beginning of 2025 altogether. You want to think 6 months back from the end of January. Okay, it would be end of May. Or end of June even. End of June. Okay, 2024. You want to think all the way back. Now, it isn't like we had a very peaceful year. And it's not like 2025 is going to be any less hectic. The mark of this direct movement is the last direct movement we're going to get on Taurus, except for the retrogression after Uranus already ingressed to Gemini. So it's definitely the last go on beta per se. That means that as of 30 January, the next 6 months are going to be super hectic, super explosive, super banking. And what they don't manage to do now, they'll probably never get to in the next 84 years. I'm going to say it again. We are at the 1941 part of the 1939 to 1941 transit. Okay? What they don't manage to do, and they know that, it's not like I'm exposing or I give, for those who think, oh, Shirley, you give them advice, they can listen to you. They have astrologers. You don't. In fact, Uranian astrology, which is a branch of concrete event astrology, was an astrology that was used in World War II. Okay, if you go to Michael O'Brien channel, he's tending to Uranian astrology. Okay, there's the Uranian astrologer, but he's not necessarily doing mundane. That was the astrology they used, and there's very likely also the astrology that they're using now. Is concrete event to see what is bombed where to laser, where are these events. Now you have to take into consideration that the entire branch of astrology is an inner cult thing. With my teaching, I am an exo-cult person, but I rely on astrology that was taught within cults with the experiments and astrological magic that I make and that I purchase from other people. So there's still the sifting and sorting. But you better bet that they have astrologers. You don't. You have some AI version of astrology, or you have some cult person that is obligated to betray so-and-so times a week. Pull a stunt on each and every so customer in order to get to the upper rank, or sell a double buying product, okay? And you don't know which of those you are, and to recruit another person, so-and-so quota. Okay, it's a business, it's an intelligence business. You listen to Ian Carroll about Epstein, and you understand a tiny fraction more of how that business run in terms of the real estate, the confiscation of wealth, and the money laundering. Speaking of talismans, a good thing that you might find useful, I haven't worked with it personally, would be the middle decan of Capricorn, where the sun is going to be. And this is a decan of preparation. So you find yourself in that situation. If there are some talismans left on that sphere and sundry, that might be something to get equipped with. Firewall of protection is another one you might want to opt for. And my word with astrological magic is as follows: it's made for astrologers by astrologers. Okay, so it is okay. It's not a magic cure. I know it is magic, but you need to adapt. You need to, like, there's a ritual, and the way that magic, let's say the middle decan of Taurus, it's going to assist you in getting prepared. Maybe it's going to motivate you. Maybe you want to join some, Jupiter Mars in Aries to get that work done. But you're gonna have to work with the side effect of that as well. Okay, you're interlaying a timeline on a timeline here. Okay. You're gonna be doing the work, but you're also gonna be having to adapt. So don't expect that. I know that this is magic. The word is magic is relevant, but don't expect it to work like magic, because it works like magic because you gotta do stuff. You're gonna think of stuff. So you're gonna have things assisting you to do stuff. But that's how the magic works. Okay, but you're going to do the stuff. Okay? Don't expect the Beta Per Se talisman for you to work if you're not advocating for willing consent and housing first and open dialogue. Believe the patient when it comes to schizophrenia and people that have been framed as crazy. Okay? Don't expect that not to backfire. Same with the currencies. You don't see the backfiring because that is used to rejuvenate the lines of the people who are doing the trafficking and the money laundering. It's a cult of betrayal. And it's not the shame, blame, oh, good karma. No, these people are tortured since birth. Better be that they wouldn't have to be in that circle to begin with. So the 6 months from the end of January, we're talking about February, so February, March, April, May, June, July, okay, so all the way up to August, in the throes of that, are going to be dramatically chaotic. Anything to do with banking, anything to do with with the electric shock MK Ultra dumb fuckery, social credit score, digitation processes to do also with the banking, okay? Currency changes, okay? What they don't manage to do now, they're not going to do for the next 84 years. They're going to have the bisextile. It's going to be about trade. It's going to be about cities. It's going to be about that. But all the fiscal, the currency system, the infrastructure, okay, that's the money time. And the thing is, with Uranus, backfire is going to backfire. Now, if you want to be on the better side of Beta Per Se, you want to be advocating for people that were framed for going through sexual assaults in spirit and or in matter, electrocution, MK Ultra, and for them to have resources, whether it's housing, food. Okay, you want to be on the safe side of Beta Persei, because it's bodies upon bodies with Beta Persei. And for people in this situation, think about the Hach, whatever, I don't know how many, trafficked children or women or people were bombed there. For them, that was assisted death, which is not accessible in those situations. So those are going to be some hectic months, and all in all, they're going to coincide with Mars perfecting its opposition to Pluto, and then perfecting its opposition as direct, which is going to be in April. So it's going to be some busy month, and that Mars is going to sextile Uranus when doing that. So the havoc of Uranus is basically remediating of the Mars-Pluto opposition. Rape of boys, trying to rape people annually to detach them from real estate and to get them to be greedy. This is why they rape boys annually. It's the root chakra. So they get disconnected from the crown. They believe there is no karma. And then they think that the freedom is liberation from morals. That's how they program. Okay, add a couple of electric shock if they resist that. And that's what they do to people. Why the church would rape people as well, for to get them to be greedy, because they gotta need people to do the money transaction that Christians are not allowed to do. But Jews are. And they cut dividends to the Vatican. But you better bet when they raise these Disney camp children, they raise them as Jews. Not as Jews, as Baal Jews. And then if you'll talk about it, you're anti-Semitic. And that shit works. I blocked Mark Bayersky once because he talked about the Jews. And I'm like, I'm third generation to Holocaust survivors. Can you be more cautious with your phrasing? Then he deleted my comment. And I said, fuck it, I can't. That's fucking betrayal, okay? Now, you look at the face of Mark Bayersky and you tell me there's not. Okay? It wasn't coming from anti-Semitic anything. It's just like he was a businessman. He did auctions, okay, before he did for the crystal stuff. And he had been working with the top elite. And it's like he has no better word to say than the Jews. But it's not the Jews that you will see as it's not these Jews. It's the inversion of religion, just like it's Christianity. Those that rape children is inversion of, it's not Christ consciousness, right? But all that shit works because when your country is bombed and there's mass ritual sacrifice and you go on your favorite crystal to know the truth, that's the guy that talked about Maui. That's the guy that said disobey. I said, what is disobey? What do you want me to do? What is disobey? Until it got here, and I was very clear. You prefer to be shot dead out of the line than get in line. Death camps and concentration camps in Petah Tikva city, in Holon city, in Israel. Palestine, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter When you get in the concentration camp, it doesn't matter if you're Palestinian or Jew, and it doesn't matter if they're Palestinians or Jews. It's a concentration camp. People being kidnapped to cities. My psychologist threatened to kidnap me as well. I can't go on a train without a couple of people taking photo of me, so I take photo of them. Why? Because I said no to human trafficking, which would mean that I said no to betraying the country and its people, which would mean I said no to political assassination. In fathers and sons, because they get the whole family. First they got the father, then they want to get the son. And when they torture a person, they electrocute them, you already don't know what you're having sex with or not having sex with, and then you're the whore, they're dead, and cherchez la femme, they think that their wife did it. Very white Christmas. So they see this urine beta per se. That's their last shot at trying to get things done, to get the infrastructure for the 15-minute ghettos, basically. Now, everybody knows with the realists, it's a cult of betrayals. Nobody's going to get paid. People holding the real estate. People invested in that real estate, okay? People invested in that real estate. If you're invested in that real estate, there were human crimes against humanity done on that property, don't expect to get paid. Be very thankful you're not hugged. And if you served in any army, you might be hugged. Army is a mandatory service, especially now, where all the crimes against humanity are done. So we're talking about if Uranus Beta Persei is the 1939 to 1941, we get into the second half of 1941. When did they found the death in concentration camps? Only at 1941. Why? Because they had to change the currency and prepare the infrastructure to get people into the death camps. So that's their last shot. Now, mind you, anybody that's been involved in investing in, profiting from, they would not get paid. They would not get vouched for. If they get smuggled, it's only for the next project, which would include their own torture, by the way. You know, public figures, politicians are psychically attacked by the day numerous times. So they're going to be on amphetamines all day, if not on cocaine. And mind control that go through torture that you don't know and you don't see. Julian Assange, okay, got out of Belmarsh. They put him in the sun, so he got tanned. He goes fat from the pills. So you think, oh, the fat pig is coming out of Belmarsh. She's a fake. And what the lawyer had to do with an Epstein ring? Very easy. Then he had to sign on an Espionage Act. Did Julian Assange not risk his life? Did he not go through torture in Belmarsh? Children, not children, did he not go through torture as a child in those Disneyland death camps? And did he not expose the Volkswagen that is now replaced by Starlink? And he likes to develop systems on a grand scale. What systems? Okay. So it's that and that. But when they want to create a picture, they created a picture of Julian Assange being paid 500,000, if not more, for a Bombardier flight in Bitcoin, looking suntanned and a slight bit overweight. Why overweight? Because these antipsychotics that they give them, because you cannot poop and you cannot absorb food, so you become fat. It's fat from malnutrition. But nobody's going to tell you that. I was trying to contact for the Free Assange and talk about, that, so they wouldn't confiscate him into another hospital right now. Okay? But in this situation, you pick your battles short because you want to be back with the kids in the country. Do you think he's not targeted? Do you think he's not a targeted individual? There are no waves, no electric shocks, no psychic attacks, no astral rapes. Oh, there's a guy in the country. So glad he's back with the kids again. What are you going to say? They went through torture. You think that the guy that vouched for a Supreme Court judge, okay, St. Jory's School, okay, and then spoke against WHO, you think that guy spoke for nothing? You see, Ronald Bernard tried to kill himself. Top banker. He said Tom Banker is top criminal. He tried to kill himself, had a near-death experience. Because it got to the point where he had to rape children. Okay, now Joris Demming, he was accused in raping children. And I believe Handsome Adler. He was accused of putting babies in jail instead of him. Okay, that's the guy Peter vouched for and then went against the WHO. Okay, so I want you to take it up a notch. Bernard was born out of the cult Peter was born in. Joris was born in. And then when it came to the WHO, Peter says enough is enough. I want you to take it up a notch. Shinzo Abe, he was not Mama Teresa. In Hebrew we say Smolani Yefen Nefesh, which is say the left wing, like Yitzhak Rabin. Yefen Nefesh is kind of like Mother Teresa. Okay, he was none of that. He was right wing. He was conservative. Very likely sexist pig. Okay, he spoke against WHO, got assassinated. I want you to get a little bit of an appraisal what that thing is. And the infrastructure, currency-wise, to prepare for that, they get the second half of 41 and that's it. Now, what does Better Per Se align for? After the Second World War, women could vote, women could open a bank account. Took two generations of men, okay? It wasn't like women were having a jolly time in the World War. When I asked Itamar Yaron, because I saw things about the medical field and I saw things about human experiments and so on, I asked Itamar, I think it's from past life. And he said, it's this life. He knew what he was talking about. And sometimes it would still feel like his brain is electrocuted while he's with me in the room. He was my psychologist, not the other way around. And then he threatens my life, and then he astral rapes me, and then, in ways that I don't even know how to negate, because I know that I need to speak up, but I need to defend myself. So I try to turn for this astrological magic thingy. And it's not about exposing him, because he was tortured. Then he turns against me with brutal violence that you can't even see, and attempts to kidnap me and torture me and prepare for some human ritual sacrifice. And then, of course, there's the part in him that's like, you left me, you ruined my life, you this, you that, you married. It's not all my psychologists, it's MK Ultra. What, we got the Neptune now? I think we're gonna begin to go for the Neptune soon. The moon Neptune. With the 5th lunar mansion, though it's not. So I'm gonna pause that, tend to that, and be back.